Oh baby, it feels good. Alright guys, welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. As promised, we've got Bujins here now that December 1st ban list is in effect and we can have our 3 copies of TENKI. We're going to run through the deck list real quick and then I'm going to show you a 1-card, 2-card, and 3-card combo that you can do with this deck. That TENKI has boosted consistency, so the combos are even more likely to be completable now. So we'll run through the monsters and whatnot pretty quickly. I think you guys, if you've seen any of my previous deck profiles, you kind of have an idea of what the deck does, but I'll give a brief explanation. So Torifun is your main combo starter. He tributes himself like Rescue Rabbit to summon 1 Bujin Beast Warrior and non-Beast Warrior. So just 2 different type Bujin cards, so it'll be most likely the Mahitatsu plus whichever Bujingi you want. The Mahitatsu, out of your hand you can discard a card to special summon him, but the effect we're interested in is when he's on the field, he can banish one of your Bujins from your graveyard to then send from your deck to the graveyard one of your Bujin cards. So he acts as a Foolish Burial. That banish also can trigger Arasuda, which is our next card here that we're playing 3 of. And he's a body for Xyz summoning and a little bit of an extender. So Mahitatsu is pretty cool. Arasuda's here just because of his special summon effect. So when a Bujin monster gets banished out of the graveyard, he can special summon himself from your hand in defense position. This is relevant because the Mahitatsu play is going to be one of your go-to plays. So having this in hand and this in hand means you can go pretty hard into your combos. It gets you F0 plus a Bujin and a graveyard full of Bujingis. The Arasuda is necessary. We're playing it at 3 because drawing it is really good in this build. Otherwise, if you were going to play some other type of win condition, this is probably less necessary at 3 of. Those are all of our 3 of monsters. Then we've got the 1 Harume. This can banish one out of the graveyard to special summon itself. That banish will also trigger the Arasuda. Then we've got the double Haruko. This is your rank up card, so out of the Pendulum Zone, it can banish itself to rank up any of your Bujin Xyz monsters into any of the other ones. So you're usually going from Susanoo up into Kagutsuchi or up into Amaterasu. Also, when it's in the banish zone, it becomes a target for that Amaterasu to special summon back, so you don't have to waste your Torifun on a turn that you can't use as effect out of that banish zone. So it's just a pretty good, well-rounded card. Pretty useful in this deck, super necessary for combos. And then our last 2 Bujin monsters, we got the 1 Mikazuchi and the 1 Yamato. These are wholly irrelevant in the current meta, but I will not cut them. Mikazuchi can search a spell or a trap. Bujin spell or trap out of your deck if a Bujin is sent from your hand to the graveyard this turn, so we do play the 1 Bujin trap in here just so that he has a search target. And then Yamato, during the end phase, you can add a Bujin from your deck to your hand and then send one from your hand to the graveyard, so he can do a little bit of searching or a graveyard setup or what have you, but you're pretty much never going to use that effect. He's going to be a body for summons, maybe for Torifun if you've burned through your Mahitatsus or whatever. And then for our Bujingis, we got the 1 Hare, banishes to protect one of your Bujin Beast Warriors on the field. 1 Turtle, banishes to negate something that targets one of your Bujin Beast Warriors on field. 1 Quillin, banishes to pop a face-up card your opponent controls. 1 Centipede, banishes to pop 1 spell or trap your opponent controls. And Sinew, this is your replacement for Crane. It's better than Crane, I think, just because it's searchable in this build that sends so many cards to the graveyard. Crane just ends up being a brick in your hand most of the time because you don't have a huge problem with attacking over stuff. And the Sinew is much more, it fits more into the flow of the deck than Crane would. So Crane is gone. I cut the Crane. You can play it in the side deck if you're playing against a deck that really does a lot to boost attack. But more often than not, the 1 Sinew that you have ways of recycling is more than enough to get over the 1 big monster that they put in front of you and then just control the board. And then we got 2 hand traps. We got the double Ghost Ogre and the double Veiler. The reason I picked these is because they work as a bridge card for Small World, which is going to be a main searcher in this deck. And so these 2, as well as Nibiru, are the only hand traps that fit the requirements for being able to act as a bridge between any of your Bujin monsters and Torifun. And so that's why these ones are in here. They're just the better of the hand traps that work in that way. So we've got the triple Small World. Basically what this is here for is if you have any of your Bujin monsters that aren't Torifun and you need the Torifun, you would activate this, banish that monster as well as one of these hand traps, and then search the Torifun to your hand. So it's like 3 additional like mini Tenkis that have a much heavier cost. For now, I just like it a lot. You can't really play stuff like Pot of Desires or Pot of Prosperity, because losing all those resources is pretty costly in this deck because it burns through a lot of resources. You use like more than half of your extra deck just going for your full combo, so yeah, you can't really afford that loss. And then the whole reason we're making this video, we've got the triple Tenki. I also play the one Tensu. So the Tenki on activation searches at level 4 Beast Warrior to your hand. It's like a blank check for any of the combo pieces you're missing in that opening hand. And then Tensu can fix some hands that aren't as good. So Tensu gives you an extra normal summon of a Beast Warrior. So if you open like Arasuda plus a Bujingi and nothing else to get your combos going, but you have the Tensu, you can activate Tensu, you get your extra normal summon on the Arasuda, normal summon the Bujingi, and you at least have a Susanoo that can search for, you know, Haruko, rank it up into Kagutsuchi, and now you're not left with nothing on board. You have a pretty decent monster. So Tensu just fixes some bad hands. It also can be a pretty decent extender. If during your combo you went for Tiger King instead of something else, you could search the Tensu for the extra normal summon and just keep going and going. And then for the rest of the spells, I've got the triple Forbidden Droplet. It's just my favorite going first board breaker because Dark Ruler No More you can't set and then use when you pass turn. This you can. Also, that attack manipulation activates in like a reverse crane sort of way. It discards for cost, which can suck, or it can be cool because it can set up your graveyard with some of your Bujingis or bodies that can be banished for other effects. So I just like that droplet. Monster Reborn, this can be a blank check for anything, really. It can be a Harpy's Feather Duster, it can be, you know, whatever card you want to fit in there. I just left it as Monster Reborn because I couldn't think of something better to throw in there for now. And the Monster Reborn is good just because this is such a combo-heavy deck, and pretty much anything in your graveyard works well within your combos, so it's just a little recursion there. It's like just an extra monster in your hand. The one Foolish Burial to set up that graveyard, and then the one Called By to protect us from those hand traps as best we can. If we had more, we would definitely find a way to play more, probably cut the Monster Reborn for a second one if we could. We got the one Bujin Regalia, the Sword. I felt this was just a better option as a search target for Mikazuchi rather than the Bujin Carnation, which is the only other Bujin spell or trap that is really worth playing. That spell is just a little bit more niche and needing nothing on your board and needing a banished and in-graveyard Bujin monsters to activate. This thing is just really nice for like replenishing a little bit. So if you have a banished Bujin, you can put it back in your graveyard. A Bujin in your graveyard, you can put it back in your hand. So it can just refresh some of your resources there. And so I felt this one was better. Also that Mikazuchi, as I forgot to mention earlier, he also has an effect where if a Bujin Beast Warrior you control gets destroyed, he can summon himself from the hand. So then he is a little bit more relevant and usable than the Yamato for that reason. He replaces a body on board where this guy really doesn't. So there are situations where this will get summoned and you could very reasonably end up with that search. So having a target is just nice. And then our last three traps, triple Solemn Strike. It's just one of your better going first trap cards, and this deck doesn't really focus to OTK, it focuses to control. So if you can end the board with, you know, your F-Zero, your, you know, Amaterasu, a graveyard full of Bujingis, and a Solemn Strike in the background, it's going to be really, really hard for your opponent to get through that. Alright, and then for the extra deck, it's mostly the same as it has been. The goal is to just get that F-Zero on board as quick as possible. And then we've also fit in that Constellar Diamond package. So we've got the one Hashima. This thing I don't really use at all. It's summonable back row removal because if you activate an Xyz monster in the zone it points to, it can pop back row. That's not super relevant, and we play Tornado Dragon, so that's not really as important because this is just a lot easier condition to meet. The only reason you would use this is if you're going for an OTK, like you're going second, in your combo, when you would overlay for like a Susanoo or something, you can instead link away for this for an extra 1500 attack, and then it summons 2 more materials, and then you can overlay for Susanoo, so it just puts an extra 1500 damage on board, which can be enough to win you a game. So it's cool to have for that reason, but otherwise it's just not really super good. The triple Susanoo, you need this to make your combos work. He detaches a material to search a Bujin in your deck and either add it to your hand or put it in the graveyard. Most of the time we're adding it to the hand because it's going to be a combo piece to just keep your F-Zero play going. The one Kagutsuchi, this thing is awesome. I really love this card. On summon, he will mill 5 cards off the top of your deck. For any Bujin card that's monster or spell or trap, he gains 100 attack. Half of the deck is Bujin cards, so you're likely going to mill between like 1 and 3 Bujin cards every time you use this effect. which means he's a easy to summon 2600 to 2800 beater most of the time, and then he can detach material to prevent himself or other Bujin Beast Warriors from being destroyed, and he can do it twice. So just kind of a pain in the ass type of card more than anything. The one Tsukiyomi, this is just like an interchangeable piece for combo play. If you wanted to try to refill your hand, like if you burn through all your hand in order to get to that point in your combo, you can summon this, discard a card, and draw 2. Otherwise, this thing doesn't see play. The one Amaterasu, this is your main combo piece. So this is what you're going to rank up the Susanoo into most of the time, going first if you have the full combo available. So you would search the Haruko, activate the Haruko, rank up into the Amaterasu. Amaterasu on your turn can detach material to special summon one of your banished Bujin monsters to your field, so it's an extra body. On your opponent's turn, it can detach one to add one of your banished Bujins back to your hand, so it can recycle your Bujingis that have been used. It can recycle your Torifun if you wanted to, or you can wait till your next turn rolls around to use your effect on your turn to summon the Torifun out of the banish zone and then get its effect to summon 2 more bodies out of the deck. So I've been able to use that for that quite a few times, so just a really good extra deck card. The one Tiger King, it works within an F-Zero summon because it's not a number monster. It searches your Tenki or your Tensu. It's also got that effect to negate the board, negate effects of face-up cards on your opponent's side of the field. So just a really good rank 4 card in this deck. The one Ga Magician, this is a big part of your F-Zero combo as well. It can detach a material to special summon one of your Xyz monsters out of the graveyard. That monster's effects are negated, but you're really only doing it because once you've got this, use its effect to summon, usually it's a Susanoo, you're going to overlay them right away to make F-Zero and then big F-Zero. So that's what that is for. And then we've got the little F-Zero and the big F-Zero. This is kind of your boss monster of the deck now. Well, not kind of. This is the boss monster of your deck now. And so what it does is when an effect is activated, he can detach to negate it. And then if that monster is on the field, he can steal it. So it's like a big eye that negates stuff. He can't be destroyed by battle or card effect. This thing's just a beast. And then we fit in here this Ptolemaeus and Constellar Diamond package. This is here because Constellar Diamond is a beast of a floodgate against certain decks. When he's on the field, you can't send stuff from the deck to the graveyard. Anything that would be added from the graveyard to your hand is banished instead. And then if a dark monster activates its effect, you can detach a material to negate the effect. So it can shut down some pretty good decks just by taking away those abilities to make those kinds of plays. So I like it, and I came up with kind of a cheesy little going second combo that can end you with F-Zero and Constellar Diamond on board, so I'll show you that one. And then our last extra deck card is that Exciton Knight. This could probably be just a Zeus, but I personally just like Exciton Knight better. It's one of my favorite cards of all time, so I'm going to play it. Alright, so we're going to move on to showing you those combos here. So I'll clean off the board and find all of the stuff that I need to show you. We'll start with a 1-card combo, then 2-card, then 3-card, and that'll be that. Alright, so for our first combo, we're going to assume you open just the Torifun with no additional combo pieces in hand and no way to get to them. So that means you probably have some back row to back up this card you're going to end up summoning. So you're going to summon that Torifun. You're going to activate its effect to tribute itself and summon 2. And we're going to go with Mahitatsu and Sinew. Mahitatsu is going to activate its effect to banish the Torifun and then send a hair to the graveyard. And then we're going to overlay and make Susanoo. We're then going to detach the Sinew, specifically the Sinew, in order to search the Haruko out of the deck. And then we're going to activate the Haruko in the Pendulum Zone. We're going to banish it, and we're going to overlay and rank up that Susanoo into a Kagutsuchi. So now, hopefully you've got that back row because you didn't have your other combo pieces. So you'll have that Kagutsuchi that is going to mill 5 and hopefully gain a couple hundred attack. It can detach to protect itself. You have some back row backing it up, and in your graveyard you have Sinew, which is that honest or crane type effect, and then the hair, which can also protect it. So it can get through 3 destructions in a turn, as well as attack over something. So it's an okay turn 1 if you got to try to stall out for a little bit just to get something on board and do something. Alright, so your 2-card combo, we're going to open Torifun and Arasudo. Remember, either of these could be Small World plus any other Bujin, or Tenki, so a little bit easier to get to than it initially would seem. So we're going to start with that normal summon. It's going to start pretty similar to the last one. We'll tribute the Torifune to summon the Mahitatsu and the Hare. Mahitatsu's effect is going to activate to banish the Torifune in order to send the Sinew to the graveyard. This banish will trigger the Arasuda in hand, and so now we'll have 3 bodies on board. We're going to overlay for the Susanoo. Susanoo is going to detach the Hare in order to search the Haruko. We're going to activate the Haruko in the Pendulum Zone, banish it in order to rank up the Susanoo, this time into Amaterasu. Amaterasu is going to use its effect by detaching the Susanoo specifically in order to special summon this Haruko out of the Banish Zone. We're going to overlay both of these to make the Magician. Then we'll detach one off of the Magician to special summon that Susanoo out of the graveyard. Then we're going to overlay the Susanoo and the Magician to make the little F-Zero, and then the big F-Zero. So the big F-Zero now has 3 materials on it. The Amaterasu has the same Hare and Sinew in the graveyard that can be any Bujingis you choose. We can pass turn with this board. It's also going to be worth noting, so this thing has 3,000 attack. The Gaga Gaga Magician has the effect to be able to boost it by 1,000. You can detach to boost it by 1,000, so you can make them even bigger that way. Alright, and so for our 3-card combo, this will be a going second combo because we're going for that Constellar Diamond and F-Zero. So we're going to assume you open the Torifune, the Tenki, and the Arasuda. They're all 3 ofs in the deck, so it's not impossible. Plus, you're going second, so it is a 6-card hand. You get that 1 extra draw to maybe get that. But Torifune, effect to tribute to summon the Mahitatsu and the Hare. The Mahitatsu effect is going to banish that Torifune to send the Sinew to graveyard, and then we are going to trigger the Arasuda out of the hand. Then we're going to overlay and make our first Susanoo, detach to search for our Haruko, activate the Haruko, use its effect to banish itself to rank up into that Amaterasu. Amaterasu's effect is going to activate. You can detach anything because we're not using the Gaga Gaga Magician this time. We'll special summon the Haruko, and then we're going to overlay for a second Susanoo. Our second Susanoo will activate to search. We'll search the Harume from our deck. Then we'll use the Tenki that we opened to search the Arasuda from our deck. We'll then banish the Arasuda out of our graveyard to summon the Harume. That banish will trigger the summon of Arasuda out of the hand. And now you'll overlay your 2 Bujin Xyz to make the little F-Zero and then the big F-Zero. And then main phase 2, you'll overlay your 2 Bujins for Ptolemaeus. And then Ptolemaeus will be overlaid into that Constellar Diamond. So you'll be able to pass turn after turn 2 with F-Zero and Constellar Diamond on board. Like I said, not super common combo that you're going to open, but if you do open it, it is going to cause some destruction. I will also say that if you're going to go second, you need to side or build the deck for going second. So like triple evenly matched, different types of draw power, anything that you can do to make their board kind of get shut down before you start trying to go for your combo, because as soon as you start trying to play through back row, this is going to get really hard to build. But that'll do it for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I hope you guys liked those little combos there. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Let me know down below if there's anything you want to see specifically as far as deck profiles go. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to do it for you. But I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me for just a few minutes here once again at Libertalia Game Supply. Happy deck building, and I'll see you guys in the next video.